Good morning, everybody. It's Saturday, and it's time for the WikiTree Livecast.
Woo.
Greg's here. Sarah is under the weather, and that's okay. Sending you lots of hugs and love, Sarah. And Jilliane is here. Yay, Jilliane. Jilliane has a cool story to tell us with, she's got a whole show. So what we're going to do is I'm going to quickly get things done. The question of the week was a really cool one. Not a lot of answers, but we'll get through that pretty quickly and spend a lot of time and see which one takes up the most space this morning, Greg or Jilliane. Morning, John Tyner. I think you won the whoopee cushion for being the first one here. And his very first comment was a new person in the live cast today, so I've heard.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. Susan Anderson's here. Chris Ferriello. Let's see. Donna Bauman. Janine. Hey, Janine. Let's see. Lisa Gervais. Hey, Lisa. Where's my Bridgehead coffee mug? You should be delivering that to my front door. Susan Carta. Let's see who else we've got coming in. Yada, yada.
Betsy.
Betsy, go. Betsy's here. Other people will be wandering in as we go, but good morning to all the people that are here early. And I'm going to go ahead and get us started by talking about that wonderful question of the week. And I am so upset that Sarah's not here to help me pronounce this stuff. How are you, Jilliane, on your South American?
I know a little bit of Spanish, so I might be able to help out.
All right. Okay. So question of the week, do you have South American roots? Good question. And let's see, Karen Lowe, Karen Lowe and Mindy Silva lead the South American project. So if you're interested in checking out that project, there's a great South American roots project, or Latin America, or Caribbean. Now, is the Caribbean considered Latin America? There's some answers in here that came up as Caribbean answers. So, yeah, I don't know. Is the Caribbean considered Latin America? Somebody give me an answer on that.
Well, if they speak Spanish, do you think that would qualify it?
Well, there's lots of places in the Caribbean that speak English or Dutch. Right. Yeah. Let's see, 20 answers. Not as I'm aware of, but if I grow my tree, I continue to discover more diversity. And that's from Marty Frank. And if you notice, Mindy Silva was all over the question of the week this week because it has to do with her project. So, and I love Mindy's answer. Isn't it great how we discover so many new locations when we expand our branches? Roger Stong says, my mother was Chilean citizen at the time of her birth after immigrating from Germany. And my birth registered with Chilean consulate at the time. Oh, so you have a Chilean birth certificate. That's interesting. And Mindy, of course, getting on there. Your branches are filled with rather impressively, Roger. That's cool. I was born in South America, and it's where I live. I'm from Buenos Aires. Nice. And this is from Gonzalo Alonso.
Okay.
All right, cool. I am Latin American via my father born in the Dominican Republic and my great-grandmother born in Puerto Rico. Those are two Caribbean nations, or Caribbean nation and a Caribbean U.S. territory from Alexis Abro. So are those Caribbean? Are those considered Latin America? I can kind of consider that. Christina Corbalani, not really, although both my parents were born in Argentina and I was born and still live in Buenos Aires City. So European by my gene pool, South American by culture, I guess. But my children do have a couple of ancestors lines that go back to colonial times. That's cool. Yes, my father comes from El Salvador, and that's from Gabriel Cruz Fernandez. My paternal grandmother, Laurie Rodriguez, was born in what was British Guyana. Her father was a Portuguese immigrant. She immigrated to the U.S. to marry my grandfather. I was going to say her grandfather. Oh, no. My grandfather, whom she met while he was a merchant marine. Nice. Christine Wells. Rob McClellan says, yes, my great-grandfather, John Birch Minchin, was a tin miner who made his fortune in Bolivia. Now, a lot of these people are talking about having connections to the area, but not many are having roots to the area. My father, Charles Richard Close, lived in Costa Rica. and that's from Cameron Close. And I like this story because I love coffee. Here, everybody cheers. Jilliane, do you have a coffee?
I've got
I
first
do.
coffee of the week, actually.
Let's do it. Coffee.
Cheers.
All right. So my father, Charles Richard Close, lived in Costa Rica for about 25 years. He searched out and exported coffee beans to the United States. He married the niece of a former president of Costa Rica, not my mother, and lived there until she left him around 1940. He was probably so hyped up on caffeine she couldn't keep up with him. Shortly after that, he enlisted in the army for 42 years and built a coffee plant in Iran for the Persian Gulf Command. Following an early release from the army, mission accomplished, and now 45 years old, he came to Ohio to work for White Villa Foods, a food wholesale manager, as their coffee, roasting, and packing department. How about that?
Wow.
Yeah. According to my DNA from Sherry Sievert, I have northern triangle of South America and lower Central America and Portugal. Probably all connected, but I haven't found a specific person. Yes, the Portuguese were quite good seafarers. Lots of them. No ancestry or cousins for sure from Kevin Black, Greg Englishman. My maternal grandmother was Panamanian, and which includes Central America, Iberian, North Africa, and a bit Sephardic. Probably a converso. Somebody look up that comment for me. Both my parents are born in Ecuador, Consuelo Sayago. Latin American ancestors is not a typical type. You think of a Latin American. Not a typical type. You think of a Latin American. North Brazilians. Jilliane, you need to turn off your speakers, lady.
What are you hearing? I'm not doing anything. Okay.
We're getting feedback.
You're getting feedback. I like hearing myself, though. Right.
So a converso, Mags, is a Jew who publicly recanted the Jewish faith and adopted Christianity. Under the pressure of Spanish Inquisition.
There you go. And here in this, Latin American ancestors is not typical when you think of Latin Americans. Though my northeastern Brazilians have blonde or light blue and greenish hair. Well, that's from the Dutch. The Dutch settled that area, as well as the islands off the coast of Brazil. And Lewis Ward says, yeah, we've got it down here. So there's a lot of great stories. There's a great story from Carol Dyer here. Go through and read some of those, and we're going to switch this over. We're going to switch gears, and we're going to go talking about why Jilliane is here. Before I share my screen, Jilliane, tell me what you thank you. Yeah, tell me what you happened upon. Tell me what happened.
It's very exciting.
Introduce your story.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Jilliane. I think I've been on since 2012. I don't know. Somebody will find out. Anyway, I've been using WikiTree for a while, and every once in a while, pretty rarely, somebody from outside contacts me because of something they've found. And that's really fun when that happens. And this time in particular was really great. So I got a private message from someone, and I did reach out to her to see if she wanted to be identified, and I haven't heard back from her. So I'll keep her anonymous. But anyway, she sent me a private message, and she said, I was walking down the road in my daughter's neighborhood, and I found in a roadside ditch, a bunch of old photographs from the 1800s and early 1900s. And she took a photograph of them and sent them to me. And that's what you're seeing on the screen. And she said, I'm a genealogist, and I'm just horrified to think of these being lost forever. That's the private message she sent. And she started, the good news is someone in this family had put names on the back of the photographs. So
Jilliane created this great space page, which is what WikiTree is so great about. Pilfering Levant photos. So if you want to pull it up and follow along as we talk about that right now, this is such a great story. And Jilliane said, how should I fix this up for the live cast? And I said, fix up a great space page and take it from there. And all she had to do was go up to add, down here to new thing, create a page for anything, and that's what she did. So Jilliane, you got this. What date? You got this on August the 2nd.
Yeah, this just happened really quickly, right? So she writes to me and says, I researched the names and I found profiles on WikiTree managed by you, and figured you must know something about them.
And the box was in a ditch somewhere?
And it wasn't even a box. It was, well, some of the photos were in this. This is like a velvet, there you go, bag, right? Most of the photos were inside of that. I think the others were scattered. They were wet. It had rained. She dried them out in her oven, which I don't know if I've ever heard of that before. That sort of terrifies me, but they look fine. They're sitting here. Some are in better condition than others, but so she sent them. So she wrote to me and said, do you want them? And I said, absolutely, I'll take them. And so they arrived a few days later, and I've been going through them this last week and scanning them. Technically, I'm taking photographs of them with my iPhone, and it seems to be doing just fine, and adding them to their particular profiles. But you can scroll down. So how are they related to me? So it's a branch that's not. I want to stress this is a great reason to do related lines. So this line is related to me because my emigrating ancestor was a Ludwig Jauch. Yeah, leave it there for a second, Mags. Ludwig Jauch was from Schwenningen, Germany, in the south of Germany, and he had an uncle, Thomas Jauch. And Thomas emigrated to the States 10 years before Ludwig did. Thomas went to Stanton, Virginia, in the Shenandoah Valley. My ancestor went to Buffalo, New York. But anyway, I was curious to know, well, what happened to Thomas? And so I researched and this is years ago, put profiles up of Thomas's children and their lineage down, working as far as I could down to the present day. And, and I put them up and then sort of forgot about them. And it was these profiles that this woman found, the woman who found the photographs in the ditch. And so she sent them to me, and I'm freaking out. Like this one, Thomas and Catherine Schlunker, Jauch, her name was Catherine Schlunker. His is Thomas Jauch. They married in 1835 in Schwenningen. They emigrated in 1856. And he was the brother of my of a direct ancestor of mine. And I don't have any photographs from this time period. So even though it's not my direct ancestor, it's his brother, and hot diggity, So that's exciting. And you can keep scrolling. And basically what this free space page does is it then says, okay, well, their daughter, Ursula, also born in Germany and emigrated with her parents. Shortly after arriving in the States, she married a guy named Henry Pfifferling. What a great name, huh?
And that is a great name.
Yeah. And I found it. You can keep scrolling. I found a group shot, and Henry is on the far left over there. Yeah.
Nice mustache.
And I think, except for the woman on the far right, who I haven't identified, I have profiles for every single one of these people in this group photo.
Wow. What is her name? The far right.
It's Marie, but I don't know her. I don't know who. I haven't figured out who she is, how she fits it, but I know everybody else. And so if you keep scrolling, then Ursula and Henry had a son, Andrew. And it's interesting, in some places he used his initials more than his name. And in some places I found him as a J Pfifferling, and in other places I found him as a Y. Well, it turns out his middle name is Jauch, and the original German spelling is with a J, but they changed it to a Y. Gotcha. So that explains it.
Following the phonetic of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now my Jauchs did not. They kept the J. And other Yauks in the States kept the J, but others changed it. And so then their daughter, Marie Pfifferling, she married a guy named George Labonte, and Marie is the person who had the photos. She's the one who wrote on the back all the identifications, because she often will say, "And me, Marie."
Oh, that's fun.
So we know
she's
that
not the same Marie up here.
She's the baby in the middle. She's the baby.
Me, Marie.
Yeah. So I have not finished going through these. There's easily, I haven't counted them. I'd say there's easily 40 or 50 photographs in this collection. I have not finished going through all of them. Some of them include, which I have not put up. There's someone here. It's like a photo album. And you can't, they're attached and they're hard to look at.
Oh, that is so cool.
So I have some work to do, trying to figure out, and I don't want to pull them off because it would destroy it, to see if there's writing on the back.
So for people who want to know about this free space idea of taking something like what Jilliane has had dropped in her lap, oh my gosh, how wonderful. She's created a date range for these photos for 1870 to 1920. It's put in Staunton, Augusta, Virginia, United States. I'm not sure why.
Because all the photos were taken in Stanton.
Okay.
It's pronounced
Stanton. And they were found in Mocksville. And now I pulled up, let me see here.
Oh yeah, I have more story. I have some more story about that.
Which works out perfectly. The North Carolina, this area of North Carolina was settled by people who were coming down the wagon road from Philadelphia. And that wagon road came right down through this area. I've done a bunch of research in this area on German, Alsace, France, all of that kind of immigration people. And they ended up in Germantown and Philadelphia and came down. So having these people end up in this area of North Carolina makes a whole lot of sense to me. Absolutely.
Well, I actually did some research on that since I talked to you, Max.
Yeah.
So, because I was wondering how Stanton, I keep wanting to say Stanton. Stanton is in the Shenandoah Valley, which is not on that path. Although Shenandoah Valley had people from Pennsylvania, south of Philadelphia, settle it as well. But I still was curious, how did these photographs end up in Mocksville, North Carolina?
Right.
So I've also been simultaneously trying to find living relatives to see if there's somebody who would want these photographs, who's closer to the family than me. And in so doing, I found out that Marie, who did all the writing on the back of the photos, she had 2 children, George and Anne. And I have not put, George is dead. He died in 2014 or 16. Anne, I think, is still living. She was living as of a year ago. And she lives in a town I won't name, but is not far from Mocksville. Like really close to Mocksville. She's in her 80s. I wonder
if they had it up, here's the last most important thing we have, like leaving your coffee on top of the car and it blew off the car on
Oh, that's nice. That's a nice way to think about it. I have sort of worse theories, but imagining cleaning out someone's home who's just gone into a retirement community or whatever. So anyway, so Anne, this daughter of Marie, she was one of the few of the family that left Stanton. She went to Norfolk, which is in Eastern Virginia, and was a school teacher there. And I think that's where she met her husband. And they ended up in North Carolina, in Winston-Salem, which is also
right next to Mocksville.
Right.
Yeah.
They ended up in Winston-Salem. So I have a feeling that Marie gave those photos to her daughter, Anne.
Ooh, better not be calling people out now, Jilliane.
Well,
so Jilliane has a couple of surnames or tags up here. I would add Mocksville to it. I would add the Yawk name.
Yeah.
I would add every possible surname that could be connected to this.
How many can you add, Max? How many tags can you add?
I don't know.
Room for 2.
At least 10, I think.
10. Let's see. Pillory Levant. And you can add them.
Oh, you can add more after it's created.
You can like Moxville here.
Okay.
And just put a comma, right?
A comma between them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you can.
Moxville, what's another? Yawk?
Yeah, Y-A-U-C-K. Use the one with the Y because that's what
I'm going to put both in here. So Yawk and Y-A-U-C-K. Let's see how that turns
it's
out.
C-K, it's not C-H at the end?
Yeah, the Yawk, the original one was a C-H. But that's all right. I'll fix it later. Don't worry about it.
We're just doing it for fun.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'll fix it.
So those show up. They don't show up individually, but they do show up on it. So that's interesting. So we just learned something, didn't we, Greg?
Yeah, I would have thought that the comma would have made...
comma. Usually when you're adding tags to something, a comma will create a new tag for you.
Yeah.
And then just to close the loop on the story part, I did find there are 2 living daughters of George. So I mentioned Marie had 2 children, George and Anne.
Right.
And on George's obit and his wife's obit, which was last year, his wife died last year, 2 daughters are named and where they live. And so I think I have found a way to reach one of them.
Yeah.
And so I'm drafting a letter to them.
Say, hey, somebody lost these. I'm in the family. I'm taking care of them. Check them out on this free space page.
Yeah.
And join WikiTree.
If you want
them, if they want them, I'll send them to them because there's no reason for me to keep the originals.
Scan them all.
I will scan them all.
Yeah. That was such a great story.
That's amazing.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, it's a great story.
That is amazing.
Wow. And people are giving you some suggestions, Jilliane, like post to some Facebook groups.
Oh, right.
Post on social media, tweet about it.
Yep.
Yeah, and Lisa Gervais and I have the same mindset that maybe they were lost.
That's That's possible.
There's a blank naturalization form in there?
No, Chris is talking about a box of stuff that he got.
Oh, okay.
Not found in a ditch, but I think sent to him.
Contents of old rusty toolbox. Cool.
Yes.
You should probably do a free space page on that, Chris, and come in and tell us about it.
That's what Lisa told him to do.
Yeah. Lisa, you and I need to get together and have coffee, really.
Yeah, you guys are obviously in sync.
We're getting on.
So, Jilliane, when you said that there was a La Bonte, my great grandmother was a La Bonte, and I have a whole book full of La Bonte connections.
Did any of them end up in? And what did I figure out about La Bonte?
Yeah, I'm curious. So these are from this group emigrated from the St. Lawrence Valley in Quebec to Northern Ontario, the Temiskaming area, right along the Northern Ontario-Quebec border.
Yeah.
But it'd be cool.
Okay, yeah, that would be fun. Maybe we're related. The one who married Marie Pfifferling, he was born in Lawrence, Massachusetts, and his parents. All I know so far is that they were from French Canada. So it may link up. Oh my God, this is pretty funny.
I need to find. Okay, you'll have to send me the link to that profile because then
maybe
I can do some.
If you want to take it. How do I do that? How do I send you a link? I can do it through the private chat, right?
Yeah.
No, just go up to the top and click link and then send it on to him. I wanted to show something else to the stream going on today. Is the Southern California Genealogical Society. They call it the Jamboree is going on. There's live talks and also not so live talks. And I'm one of them, but not only am I one of them about minowydna.org, I'm also doing one on WikiTree. So check out the Southern California Jamboree for this weekend.
And is that a live or a not so live talk
It's live. It's a hybrid. It's not your two talks. But my talk is not live. It's recorded. Yeah, I know. Things have changed since I did it. Also coming up in the next couple of weeks is the North of Ireland Family History Society conference. Now, if you aren't familiar with the North of Ireland Family History Society and their connection to WikiTree, they have taken the DNA group projects idea on WikiTree because FTDNA doesn't have a space to have all of this information. The North of Ireland Family History Society, which I'm going to pull up right now, North of Ireland Family History Society. There we go. They actually work on WikiTree solely. And they have a DNA summer school coming up on Monday the 22nd through Friday the 26th. So there's lots of talks, and you'll see that I'm doing another WikiTree talk. No, I'm doing just a mitoY or a mitochondrial DNA talk. So that's coming up soon. So if you want to check it out, and the Northern Ireland Family History Society and WikiTree work so well together. They have been actually going out into the villages in Ireland and actually swabbing people for their work on WikiTree and their work with DNA. So it's incredible, and I want to shout out and give so much support to them because of what they're doing with WikiTree and with DNA and with my DNA. They started a project based on my Templeton family, who is probably from Island McGee, Ireland. So they have been going around Island McGee swabbing people. So that's pretty cool. So give them a check too. All right, Greg.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So before I start the profiles of the week, I want to just give props to our colleague Mags here, because she did a workshop recently, and she got a compliment that I think all of us can agree with, that she handles DNA like a sleek sports car. I think I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember the exact quote, but wasn't it something like that, Megs?
You drive DNA like a fancy sports car, not a moment's hesitation to answer a question.
Oh, I want to take a workshop with you. I don't know. I don't get DNA.
I know.
I have resisted.
Resistance is futile.
Resistance is futile. Yes.
There you go, Chris Ferriello.
Oh, anyways, that's great stuff. So,
Lisa, we got to get together and just talk. We got. Do you have Bridgehead way out there where you live? All right, Greg.
Okay, we're doing profiles of the week, and let me add. There we go. So this week the theme is. Oh no, I hit the wrong. The theme is, which participant in the Battle of the Alamo are you most closely connected to? So I think that the WikiTree logo should change from WikiTree, where genealogists collaborate, to where genealogists collaborate and teach Canadians all about American history.
That's crazy funny.
Yes, because I've heard, I know there's the Battle of the Alamo. I know the phrase, remember the Alamo, but I was never taught about the Alamo in school, so I have nothing to remember about it.
Well, we weren't taught much about it either down here south of the border.
Oh, really?
we were, and one of my ancestors was best friends with Davy Crockett.
Wow.
So we have a family connection. He when he died, he took over part of the stuff for the family or whatever. I've forgotten what. He was a Dillard.
Oh, wow.
I actually learned what I know now about the Alamo from WikiTree.
Really? Yes. Well, that's exactly my point.
And being involved with the Native Americans Project, and it's a pretty awful story.
Wow. So here's what I've learned, and correct me where I go wrong, because anyways, the profiles of the week are all about the Alamo and people connected with that. So I had to find out what the history of it was so that I could sort of make sense of this. So apparently it's all about the Texas Revolution, because Texas used to be one of the provinces of Mexico. And when Mexico became a country unto itself, there were lots of provinces. And in 1835, in the fall of 1835, after lots of politics and stuff, the residents in Texas wanted to separate and form their own. They wanted to leave Mexico, basically. So that's where the Texas Revolution started on October 2nd, 1835. And it was a rebellion of colonists from. So I learned two other words that I had never heard before: Texians and Tejanos. And Texians were people who lived in Texas, who were of English background, and Tejanos were Hispanic Texans. But there were both groups of types of people were part of the rebellion. So it started out pretty easily because the Mexicans didn't expect this. But then in 1836, they got a little more, the Mexicans got a little more serious about this. And Santa Anna, who was the leader of the Mexicans, declared that they were going to treat the rebels like pirates. And so no holds barred. And the Battle of the Alamo, which happened in March 6th to around March 6th of 1836, I believe it is. After they attacked, they basically left none of the soldiers alive. They didn't take prisoners. They didn't. There was no leniency at all. Only a few women and children. And I think a few couriers were left, but most of them were just slaughtered. And so because of that, that's why we have to remember the Alamo. So then later in April, they got back at the Battle of, where was it? San Jacinto. And so at that point, the rebels won, and they did separate from Mexico and declared that Texas is a republic. Which I knew that it was called, the official name of the state was the Republic of Texas. And now I understand why, because they became their own little mini country until they were annexed and absorbed by the United States.
Hey, so, Greg.
How'd I do?
You're 20 degrees from David Crockett.
Am I?
That's your closest. Jilliane has a bunch that are 18, but she's 16 from James Bowie. Or Bowie, the Bowie knife.
Yes.
And I haven't even looked at mine. I'm 11 from David Crockett.
Wow. You're really close.
Yeah, let's see how that goes. And it's real too. It's wow, that's surprising. It's through my dad, but it's a direct connection.
Oh, so you're an actual cousin?
Yep.
That's very cool.
He married my cousin.
Oh.
Or my ancestor. Yeah, he married one of my direct ancestors. So his children are in my direct line.
That's very cool.
Isn't that very cool?
Yeah.
Let me look. See relationship finder. Here we go. All right. So I just thought I would share that.
Yes, thank you.
That shocks me that I'm that close to Davy Crockett. I knew that there was a strong connection between our families, but but amazingly, the connection that this comes up with is through the other side of my family. So that's interesting.
Interesting, yeah. So it starts. So Davy Crockett, or David Crockett, is the profile of the week. And Jilliane, did you get that link or not? I was going to share it with you.
What's that?
Jilliane asked for it, but anyway, the link. So apparently, he went by David Crockett during his life. The name Davy Crockett, it was popularized later after he passed, when his life story became myth and history, and a nice little ditty that we've all learned and loved, and a Disney movie and stuff. But he went by David Crockett. So there was a comment somewhere in the profile about referring to him as David in the profile, because that's what he would have been known as in life. But he was born in Eastern Tennessee, August 17, 1786, son of pioneer parents, one of 9 children. And he often was hired out to earn some pay, so he didn't have any formal education, but he became a woodsman, a hunter, and a scout. All of those skills that he's famous for. Enlisted in the Tennessee militia, served during the War of 1812, and a number of the people who ended up at the Alamo started out in the War of 1812. So I thought that was an interesting fact. But later on, after that, he then became a member of the U.S. House of Representatives. So he was a politician as well as all that. And in Congress, he opposed the Indian Removal Act, which I thought was interesting. He wrote an autobiography along with the help of Thomas Chilton, which is published. And I love this quote here: "I leave this rule for others when I'm dead. Be always sure you're right, then go ahead."
I can commiserate, or I can understand what he was talking about, being against the removal of the Indians, because my family was very much against that as well. My ancestor John Dillard is actually written up in an outward bound manual for people doing the North Carolina outward bound, because he worked so hard to try and keep the indigenous people in their lands. And he ends up, John Dillard ends up in Raven County, Georgia. He's one of the first people to settle that area when those lands open up. But we also had indigenous people who married into our family and stuff. So it's interesting to hear that about Davy Crockett, knowing how my family, the family that he was closely connected to, had also had those feelings as well. Yeah.
It's nice to know that there were people, on the other side of, it wasn't just, we can't just sort of blanket everyone and say, well, everyone made this choice, which, had negative effects.
Look at Jilliane Smith logged in another space, leaving.
Oh my, doing double duty. Anyways, his opposition to Andrew Jackson led to his defeat. Wow. But then he did end up, he ended up going down to the Alamo, and he brought with him a group of 12 Tennessee volunteers. He joined the garrison in February and was part of the siege. He was killed at the battle on March 6th, along with all the other Alamo defenders. So that is Mr. David Crockett. And then on the other side, every one of the other, wait a second, maybe except for the last one here. Juan Monte was on the Mexican side, I believe. Yes. He was born in May 1803 in Nacapetero, Caracaro, district of Michoacan, Mexico. I probably butchered that by a lot. He was the son of a Roman Catholic priest who had led insurgents in the Mexican War of Independence from 1811 to 1815. And but he went to New Orleans, where he was educated and learned fluent English. He was on the staff of a rebel leader in Texas, and then was sent as part of the Mexican delegation to London. And he negotiated a treaty with England. So that was Mexico's first treaty as a new nation. He got married in Mexico City, and he was one of the leaders of the Mexican army. So he rose to the rank of Major General after the Alamo. So the Almonte led the last organized resistance of the panicked army. So on the following day, Santa Anna was also taken prisoner. So he was in the Battle of San Jacinto when the Mexicans lost. That's when he was captured. He stayed with Santa Anna during his imprisonment, acting as his interpreter and negotiator. So, interesting fact here: this town of Almonte in Ontario here was named after Almonte to commemorate the general's futile resistance against the United States. That's an interesting reason for naming a town after someone. But
and why do we call it Almont then?
Well, because of his I guess because he tried to resist the United States. I don't know. Maybe.
No, but why do we call it Almont instead of Almonte?
Oh, good point. Well, you know how lots of pronunciations have changed over time. If there's not a lot of Spanish-speaking people in the town, and my guess is most of Ontario little towns probably don't have a lot of Spanish speakers anymore, or didn't back there originally. but it's the only town in Ontario that's named after a Mexican general. I think that's
I had no idea.
The town of Almont, without the E, Michigan, is also named after him. Huh. Interesting. But somehow he ended up in Paris when he passed away in 1969. James Bowie, famous for the Bowie knife, but was also at the Alamo. Came from Kentucky. Described as 6 feet tall, 180 pounds, with light gray hair, gray eyes, and a temper. So you can sort of picture that, I guess. He was engaged to Cecilia Wells, but she died before they could be married. So that's sad. And so he would join the Masonic Order. He and his friend entered the Mexican Texas colony. And by February 1830, he was already living in San Antonio de Bejar to present more letters to a wealthy settler. And then down to the Battle of to the Alamo. Where was he here? He was in charge of a group of volunteers in January at the garrison of the Alamo, and the leader, Colonel Neal, needed to leave to go to take care of his family, and asked Lieutenant William Travis to command the Alamo. He and Travis didn't get along, but due to it being, anyways, he wanted to continue to stand up for Texans' rights. And anyways, there's a lot. This is a well done profile. Anyways, all the defenders, he was one of the ones killed on the last day, just like many of the others. But there is a picture of the original Bowie knife right there. It's kind of cool.
Big. It's a big knife.
That's a big knife, yeah. So here's the person who was put in charge of the Alamo. That's William Barrett Travis, born in 1809 in Saluda County, South Carolina.
Woohoo! That's right where I'm from.
Is that right near you?
Yep.
Cool. He was the commander at the Battle of the Alamo and the eldest of 11 children. Wow, big families back then.
Gotta have cheap labor for the farm.
Yes, that's right. So huge, long profile about his career and whatnot. Here we start. So 1835, Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna had asserted his control in Mexico and demanded the surrender of a cannon in October 35. And Travis joined with hundreds of Texans to fight against that. He prepared the mission known as the Alamo, and he wrote a letter addressed to the people of Texas and all Americans in the world to ask for help. Written on February 24th, brought more than enough to help Texas but it did not arrive in time. So that's one of the reasons the Alamo fell, because they didn't get the reinforcements in time. And so then the Mexicans overpowered the Texians within a few hours. Travis was killed early in the battle from a single bullet in the head. Very sad. Then we have a woman, Juan Gertrudes Navarro, daughter of Jose Angel Ruiz Navarro and Marie Concepcion Perez Montes.
Juana Gertrudis Navarro.
Sorry, say that again.
Juana Gertrudis Navarro.
Gertrudis. Oh, it's a hard G. Gertrudis. Okay. And she's a survivor of the Alamo. So she was there with her father, with Angel Navarro. Married twice. So she was during their 11-year marriage. Ellsbury is often away from San Antonio. He did not survive the Mexican-American War. And, she probably wrote a few letters. Her signature appears on numerous Texas Land Office documents. But
you know, I've always thought of the Alamo as this humongous building fort, you know, and you go and you look at it, it's tiny.
Well, it was only a little mission church,
yeah,
right?
It was
or a little mission. Yeah. So, yeah. And then now this person, I looked up the family tree, and all of his ancestors are like they you know, Theophilus, Elizabeth Crumpler, Autry, like these are all, well, that's like a French name. There's a French connection there. But so I'm not sure how to pronounce his first name, whether it Mikaja, if it was Spanish, that's how I would probably pronounce it. Mikaja, Mikaja. How would you pronounce his first name?
Mikaja.
Mikaja.
That would have been the Appalachian.
Appalachians.
Mikaja.
Mikaja. Anyways, he was also killed in action at the Battle of the Alamo.
And having French names, Acadian names in there would not be unusual, because when this turmoil was going on, people were going from New Orleans and from Louisiana over to help with the fighting as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. That's interesting. So I'm wondering what the timing is like from the expulsion of the Acadians from Nova Scotia down to New Orleans.
Somebody look that up.
Like, is that how does that figure in with the timing of the Alamo and the Mexican War? That would be interesting to find out. I should have thought to look at that ahead. So again, he was part of the 1812
to 1763.
So it would have been
1755 to 1763.
So the Acadians were all down in New Orleans by then. Yeah. Nice.
Jilliane, you're muted, and just in case, John Tyner. You were not worried about that, but John Tyner is, okay? So
John Tyner's worried.
You're muted, Jilliane. She's muted because she's got background stuff going on, and we really appreciate that.
So Mikaja, how'd you pronounce it?
Mikaja joined
a squad in New Orleans. There we go, New Orleans.
Here we go. New Orleans.
On their way to Texas.
Now you got to get New Orleans right. There's not two words. New Orleans. N-Y-O-L-E-A-N-S, something like that. Yeah.
They had to walk all the way to Washington on the Brazos. Brazos is a river that flows through there, with David Crockett and others under the command of Captain William B. Harrison. They arrived in February and entered the Alamo garrison on February 23rd. And then March 6th, in the morning, the Mexican army hit the south wall, and he died along with 187 other defenders. James Butler Bonham, born on Flat Rose Plantation, South Carolina, again, near Saluda, South Carolina. So that's, again, your neck of the woods.
That's Bonham.
Bonham? Really? Are you making it up? No. So I like this. So he was a bit of an instigator. When he went to college, South Carolina College, in his senior year, the whole senior class was expelled due to a protest that he instigated.
Word.
Yeah, because of attendance regulations. So maybe because he had to attend class and poor food for the students in the boarding house. So there was a whole protest, and then it got expelled. When he was practicing law in Pendleton, he struck an attorney with a cane who had insulted one of his female clients.
Those Carolinians are just dangerous folk.
Yeah. He would not apologize, then offended the judge, which resulted in a 9 days sentence for contempt of court. So he obviously had a penchant for social justice and doing what he thought was right. So I think he followed David Crockett's motto to that, which is probably how he ended up helping out. He left February 3rd at the Alamo. He was killed on the 6th of March along with the rest of the defenders. So
yeah, none of these profiles have happy endings. I'm just saying that.
No. So he wasn't actually. So he offered his service. So he was actually a courier. So he took messages back and forth. And the second positive letter to Colonel Travis was that help was coming, but they didn't arrive in time. And so, then Susannah Wilkinson, known as she was a survivor.
She survived?
She survived. Well,
okay, this is one of the happy endings.
One of the happy endings, yes. And I believe she was able to save her daughter. When the Mexican troops arrived in San Antonio, she and her husband moved to the Alamo for safety, which turned out to be not maybe the best decision. So this her last memories of her husband was him running into the chapel where she was hiding. He kissed her and said to her, "Great God, Sue, the Mexicans are inside our walls. All is lost. If they spare you, love our child."
Aww.
Sad. Now, she did survive and she did save the child, but she became a widow that day.
Where was she born?
She was born
Bolivar.
Bolivar.
Bolivar?
Bolivar?
Come on, Janine.
Micaiah, Jilliane says. Okay. From
Jilliane, you could have unmuted and said that out loud.
Patrick Henry Herndon.
Greg,
born in Rockbridge County, Virginia.
Remind you right now that it's like 10 till.
My goodness. Okay, so someone else. Patrick, first assigned to. He was also killed in the Battle of Alamo, March 6th. He was in the he traveled with James Bowie. He was part of that crew. James Clinton Neal. He survived because I think he was the one who was called back. He left the Alamo because his family, there was a family problem. And then on his way back, he stopped to buy medicines, but he was too late to arrive at the Alamo with the medicines.
Yeah, can you imagine that phone call? Mom, he won't let me have the remote control, and we're going to beat each other up. Dad, come and help us. that didn't happen back then.
No. And the last one, Juan Nepomuceno Seguin.
Yeah, whatever you say.
I think that might be how you pronounce it. Born in San Antonio, Beja, province of Texas, when it was part of New Spain. And then this is mostly bullet points. And for
that's
the full
biography,
see Wikipedia.
You get that, Greg?
What's that?
Bullet points.
Oh, sorry. He left the Alamo as a courier to carry a message requesting aid for the Alamo defenders, and many of the soldiers in the unit accompanied him. When he encountered a Mexican army, so he was a loyal Tejano, this guy. When he encountered a Mexican army patrol, he spoke to them as if he was a Mexican officer. So that's a cool way to hide that. But he never returned to the Alamo as the other couriers did. So that's how he survived, why he survived. So there we have it. The profiles of the week.
Now we need to jump on the roller coasters. Go.
Go.
Do I even have those up? I don't have those up yet.
So that's your weekly episode of Canadians Learning American History, or butchering it, however.
I thought I had that up. I got recent questions up for sure. Mm-hmm. And since we only have like 4 minutes left, maybe we should do that. There we go. Okay. We've got a challenge coming up for Scott Turo's ancestors.
Because we're in the middle of
What's that?
We're in the middle of the Jennifer Lopez challenge right now.
Yeah, and we're in the middle of Jennifer Lopez's challenge. Everybody knows who J-Lo is, but according to last week's session, we found out that she is now Jennifer Lopez Affleck.
Ah.
Yeah, and let's see. And Scott Turo, who is Scott Turo? He's
an author, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
trying to think.
So Scott Tour, you can register for that. And the treetops in your CC7 history, which has something to do with Greg. There's also another WikiTree tops page. Let me look for it real quick. Well, I don't want to get lost. And it's been around for years.
Well, didn't the treetops sort of incorporate that as part of it?
I think so. Is this it? Yeah. So patrilineal line cousins. It's called WikiTree Tops, and all you have to do is Google it, WikiTree Tops, and it'll take you to this page. And he's got bunches of stuff, outstanding profiles per week. So there's a lot more information than what is in the WikiTree Tops they have listed so far of what I've seen. Photo of the week. Now, does this really take us to the photo of the week?
Ooh.
Takes us to the archive. And living persons with ancestry from the largest number of different countries within 8 generations. Peter Roberts, how did you figure that one out?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Most number of generations in which a person's ancestors are all known and they are all from one country. That's pretty cool.
Wow.
Let's see. Most number of identified ancestors back. So there's a bunch of stuff in here that's fun for WikiTree Tops if you want to see some of the extra stuff that goes along with that. And we're really not going to have time to do the roller coasters. Maybe we can do double up on the photo of the week next week.
Sure.
Yeah. So, Jilliane, thank you so much for joining us and sharing
wonderful
that great
story.
Thanks for the invitation. Yeah, I'll keep adding photos if I discover any other, interesting ahas.
If there's gold in that, I wouldn't tell anybody that you find gold.
Yeah, that's right.
I think if gold had been found, it didn't make it from North Carolina back up here to Washington, D.C. So.
Oh, no.
Thanks for letting me play with you.
Hey, we love having you on, Jilliane. And next time, find that WikiTree shirt. I think it's back in that in your utility room back there. It's holding. You've got it tied together, holding something together. It's on the other side. The other side.
Yeah.
Greg, always a pleasure. And do you have anything exciting coming up, or
me?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I did a little a mini update to the DNA confirmation app, and I might put a YouTube video out to explain that. And I'm actually going to add a link to Johnny Pearl's DNA Painter, because
look at the eyebrow work on that one.
So
Johnny Pearl was the keynote last night for the Jamboree. So
nice.
That was fun. I was going to say something for you, to you. I don't remember what it was. Went blank.
Okay.
Well, while you're looking in your mind for that, Greg, let's follow up on the Labonte connection.
Yes.
Because I bet it connects.
Where genealogists collaborate, folks.
Yeah, exactly.
It happened right here today. Yeah. So you guys have a great week. Sarah, get well, and we'll see you again this time next week. Oh, and I'm going to be out in the woods again.
Oh, great.
Bye, y'all.
See ya.
Bye.
Get the branding up here. So.
Yeah.